Hi, today we've got Barry from Birmingham with us. Hi, Barry, how are you doing?
Not bad, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your stroke journey and how things are going for you now?
Yeah, so back in April, the end of April, right when COVID was at its sort of peak, I suppose, in Birmingham, it was the Easter weekend. Did the usual kind of stuff, went to home base, bought a load of compost. The idea was going to put some plants in, get it all looking nice, get the garden looking nice. And it was that week, it was the Friday of the weekend. I was working from the office as I am now, kind of sat here. And I was doing a WebEx, one of the girls at work. And all I was doing, it sounds really daft, I was in Excel and I was copying a cell from Excel from one sort of page to another. And I couldn't do with my hand, Control C, Control V. I just couldn't do it. And I'm there going, Kate, I can't do this. She could see I was stressing over it. And she goes, Barry, just send it across and I'll do it for you. And she goes, go and have a lie down, which again, you know, when you hear people say I have a heart attack and you keel over, I didn't have that. I didn't have any sort of mad sort of vision or anything. That was the only thing that I can remember that it was like, that doesn't feel right. And I went and lay down. I rang my mum and I said, Mum, I'm not feeling right. And she said, shut the curtains and go and lie down. Went and lay down, kind of got up later on that afternoon. And again, I must have just gone out like a light, really. Got up later in the afternoon, and Angela, my wife, was in the garden, had got the compost on the table and whatever, and the pots were all out. And she said, right, let's do some planting. And I felt a bit funny, but I kind of went, yeah, go on, then let's do this. So I went down, sort of, I know it sounds daft, but I was flicking the compost. Like all I was doing was with a trowel, getting it from the bag to the pot, and I just couldn't do it. Not that I can't really remember what I was doing, but she said I was flicking the compost all over the table. And she's like, what are you doing? I went, Ange, I don't know. And she goes, you're starting to wind us up here. Stop doing that. Then clean the table and put it back in the bag. And it was like, where we are, we've got a patio into the back garden, set of small double doors, and sort of I walked through the doors and banged into the door frame. And she's looking and she goes, are you all right? I went, I don't know, I feel a bit funny, but again, she goes, why have you banged into the door? I went, I don't know. Did it again, just repeatedly banging my shoulder into the door frame. Now I was a rugby player, so it wasn't just a quiet bang. It was like, I'm going to take the whole door frame out here, right? Full ball into this door frame. And she's going, can you come and sit down? You're not right. Just calm down. You're going to take the door off a hinge. And we kind of sat down. She's going, your face doesn't look right. She goes, what the hell's going on with you? And I went, how do you mean? She goes, your face is all dropped on the one side. She goes, that doesn't look right. There's my sister-in-law's a GP. So Angela rang her and, went through some of the symptoms that I had and stuff. She goes, Angela, it's not sounding right. She goes, ring 111, see if you can get him looked at. So went to bed, following morning, and kind of rang 111. This was right when COVID was at its peak, and they said, we can send in, it sounds like he's had a stroke. We can send an ambulance, but it's going to take 12 hours. If you can get him to the hospital, just drive him there. So we sat there and went, come on, let's do this. So she then put bundles into the car, drove us to the QE in Birmingham, which was weird in itself, kind of getting there, and they're all with advisors and all the rest of it. And they came out and went, he can come in, but you're not allowed. I was literally bundled through the door. Again, having had a stroke and not knowing what this was, my brain was a bit kind of muddled. They walked us through. Kind of this young doctor came out, kind of assessed us, and he said, right, pull me hand. So I had to do the pull tests on his arm and stuff, and sat in the bed and did the pull test on my leg and stuff. And what was weird was the A&E department, there was nobody in it. It was empty. There might have been a couple of nurses going around, but no one in there.
Okay.
The centers for a scan, MRI scan, and kind of sat back in the room waiting to have a chat with him. And he came in, he said, right, he said, just to let you know, you've had a stroke. He said, you've had three infarcts, 2 on the left, 1 on the right. So yeah, you can go home. Thanks a lot. Off you go. And I was like, right, fine. My phone was dead. because I'd obviously been texting, Angela
Yeah.
during the day and stuff. So this was about, I think it might have been about 7 o'clock at night. And he said, right, you need to go down to the pharmacy because you've got your blood thinners there. You need to take these because if you have another stroke, you might not make it through. So when I say walked, I hobbled back, down this big long path around the outside of the hospital, walked into the pharmacy, and I said, I've come to pick up my tablets. He said, 7 o'clock. He said, we close at lunchtime. He goes, an A&E know that. He said, why have they sent you here? And I went, I don't know. He said, I can go home. He said, go home then. He said, come back in the morning for your tablets. So I then set off walking out the QE, kind of dazed, not knowing what the hell's going on, just being told I've had a stroke. What do I do? What does that mean? My phone's dead. I can't call Angela. I was like, oh God, what's going on here? And I don't know if you know Birmingham, but I started walking. And again, it's probably about 2 miles from the hospital to Selly Oak, is the main road into Birmingham. I think it's the A38, I think. So it's quite a busy road. Now, granted, it was sort of COVID Saturday type scenario. There was still loads of buses. And again, I've walked that route since, and you're going, how the hell did I get across this junction? There's loads of junctions. It's where I needed to be. And I was walking down the main sort of drag, if you like, and this young lad walked towards. I said, mate, can I borrow your phone? I said, I need to call my wife. He went, are you okay? I said, no, I've had a stroke. He goes, what the hell are you doing here? I went, well, they've just let us go to the hospital. So he gave us his phone. I rang Angela. I said, Ange, I'm at this pub, the Bristol Pear. I said, can you come and get us? She goes, what the hell are you doing there? I said, well, they've discharged us. She then literally, it seems like minutes, kind of whizzed around the corner, bundled us in the car. She goes, drove us back towards the hospital. She goes, he said, where's your papers? Where's all your documents? What do we do now? They literally discharged us with nothing. It was like, see you later, off you go. So we came home. And again, this was apparent. Again, I'll talk about what I learned subsequently, but we went home and we had nothing. So Angela started Googling, what do you do after a stroke? And I think she found, it was Rotherham Hospital. There was a couple of physios on there, started talking about, you need to kind of go doing the blowing your out and stuff, because obviously I was all slumped on the left-hand side. We found a physio down in Brighton who a friend of ours knows her. And she goes, she's a special neuro physio down in Brighton. So I paid for her to kind of assess us and stuff, which was brilliant. She kind of helped us on a couple of little bits in there. Went through a few bits, but obviously we were left alone. Angela didn't have a clue what to do. And again, I was fumbling around my left-hand side. It wasn't working. I was banging into things, smashing glass as the usual. So kind of left alone, really. And then pure chance more than anything, Angela went to Tesco's, which is, around that little extra Tesco extra around the corner. And she bumped into a lady who we know her through our daughters that go to school together, but we didn't really know her name or what she did. And she said, how you doing? And Anne said, if I'm being honest with you, she was pretty shit. Barry's had a stroke. And she goes, and we've been left with nothing, literally discharged them with nothing. She went, oh my God, that sounds awful. She goes, you do know I'm an occupational therapist for the early stroke discharge team in Birmingham. I'm just like, I didn't even know your first name, let alone what you did. And so she gave Angela the number for, I think it was the head of the department. It turns out A&E hadn't been reporting any stroke victims to that team at all. Left. And the team had said, well, we've been twiddling our thumbs for 2 weeks during this whole lockdown stuff, this whole period, because they thought nobody was going to hospital, but it was because the A&E weren't referring anybody across to them. It turns out there should have been somebody in the room when they said, you've had a stroke, and that didn't happen. So yeah, that was us on the path of, what's the next steps? Because obviously I've got nothing. And this, the team got involved, the early discharge team got involved with us, got me a physio, Trevor, he came out, he was brilliant. Trevor's transformed the way I do stuff. I had an occupational therapist, Sarita, came out, she was great, kind of, again, just a young girl, kind of going through, making sure that at the time I couldn't get in a shower to have a wash. So it was like, right, we need to get your steps, we need to get all of that sorted and blah, blah, blah. Going through, what I was doing with my left hand and what I couldn't do with my left hand. I had a speech therapist who came out, which was weird to do the whole COVID stuff. Sit mask on, talking to somebody about making, and she's there going, can you see the shape of my mouth? And I'm going, you've got a mask on. No, I can't see that, which is just, then went through the, doing the buckle pull and all the rest of it. So, I eventually got access to the team, which was brilliant, but it was so bizarre, going through that whole scenario. Again, had it not been for a bag of spinach from Tesco's, we wouldn't have had it, which is bizarre. So yeah, again, I think with the whole COVID stuff, it was I got letters saying, we'll do a meeting with you, but it's got to be on a Zoom meeting as we are now. We can't have you in the hospital. We don't even know. Again, I'm there going, how bad am I? Am I going to, they've said you'll make a full recovery, but what does that look like? I don't know. But I think it was on here, I saw a brilliant image, which was like the path from A to B. But, my path, it was very much like that graphic, was like a big wiggly, messy line. Yeah, I thought that was one of the best graphics I've ever seen to explain this stroke path that I'm on. So yeah, obviously then we got, the stroke team with regards physio. Trevor came out, got me walking, got me doing all the stuff I needed to do. And then that kind of came to an end, probably might have been about June. That all kind of died off. Now that in itself wasn't a bad thing because my wife had a hip operation, had a hip replacement. That was weird where they rang her up and said, right, obviously because of COVID, we can get you in, but this is the window. Can you do it? She went, don't be daft. My husband's had a stroke. And I said, look, I'm on recovery. I said, there's bits I can do to help you. I said, just get it done. You're in agony, get it done. Yeah. So that whole stroke team that I had kind of came to an end, and they said, it'll come back on at the end of it. I said, right, I'll take this month off, if you like, from the stroke team to help her, which again wasn't the easiest thing in the world because obviously I'm, was impaired down my left-hand side. So bits, I wanted to help, but obviously some things I just couldn't do. And it was kind of, I could see I was frustrating her. Yeah. She was in pain and stuff. Again, I felt helpless through all of that. And then, so I think it was July, August, it was almost as if everything started to kick in again. The physio, and I got assigned to BISC in Birmingham, which is the Brain Injury Specialist Clinic. And they said, right, we're all kicking you back in again. The new physio's starting and blah, blah, blah. And what was weird, I got the letter saying, we'll get you into the hospital. We'll get you, kind of with a physio. They went, however, this was Birmingham went into a local isolation, local lockdown. So I've just gone through all of COVID and then they did the lockdown. Was it August, September time? And they went, oh, you can't come in. We can't bring you in. Now they had to, and I'm pleased they did, because they then fought to get me. They said, we can get you in, but we'd have to bring you through a back door rather than walking you through a ward, which just seemed madness. So again, I'm back on sort of track with a physio now, which is brilliant. I've been doing treadmill training, me looking at, I've developed, my left hand's kind of gone a bit sort of limp, really, which is odd when you're walking around. As a big, kind of people wink at you. So they said, we need to get you walking on a treadmill just so your brain can see, kind of what you are actually doing. So that's been brilliant getting me back on there now. They've reconfigured sort of my entrance into the hospital, which has been good. But yeah, the whole COVID stuff just been a bit kind of weird for me, kind of booted out with nothing. So yeah, that's kind of my story. Kind of, I'm in the, I suppose, that wiggly path I mentioned now to sort of get back to, what does work look like? I don't know. And I mentioned to you before, I've just signed up for doing the driver assessment course to be able to, get back in the car again. So everything's starting to fall back into place slowly. And I think that's the hard thing. It's kind of, and I've realized that I think one of the reasons maybe is why I had a stroke is I'm like a bottle of pop. You shake me up and boom, off I go. You take the lid off and I'm explosive. And I think that's probably why I've had a stroke, to be brutally honest with you. But it's one of them that I'm having to learn how to calm down a little bit and kind of temper a lot of my expectations. So like I say, I'm keen to get back to work, but they've been brilliant with me. So they've said, we want you back 100%, not come back and then you have a problem and blah, blah, blah. So they've been brilliant with us. So that path, like I say, things are starting to fall into place, but that's what, since the end of April to now, what's 6 months, 8 months? So it's been a bit of a hike, to say the least, and a struggle, kind of doing a lot of it by ourselves. But obviously, I think joining this group has been brilliant for me, kind of talking to people and kind of going through what they're going through to then say, yeah, that sounds normal. You know, the kind of, I can't remember who it was I spoke to, trying to reconcile and, you know, kind of crying. You know, I'm watching the news and then all of a sudden I burst into tears. Why am I crying at the news at 10? I can't explain that. And it was somebody, I think, commenting, can somebody explain to me what this is all about? And, you know, and somebody came back when it's completely normal. Don't worry about it. It will go. So there's little bits like that that's been, you know, a massive help for me, which again, you sit there and go, why hasn't the hospital given me that? Why haven't I had access to somebody to get that information when I need it? But I'm assuming that's COVID. Like I say, I was literally in hospital, went in about 11 o'clock and booted out about 5 o'clock, literally booted out at 5 o'clock. It's like, we're nothing. And you hear people saying, oh, I spent X amount of days on a ward and blah, blah, blah. I never had that. I was like, see you later, good luck. And I seem to recall the doctor saying, good luck, as I walked out, which was just like, do I need that? That's kind of just seemed the weird thing for a doctor to say cheerio to you, saying good luck. Had he known the road I was going to have to cross through Birmingham to try and get home, it's like, neither wonder he said good luck as I'm hobbling along. So, you know, my left side impaired, almost paralyzed. Just bizarre, weird scenario. Weirdest thing I've ever gone through. But it seems like I'm getting towards the end, which is good, I think.
That is incredible, the way it all happened, the way A&E weren't reporting the strokes and everything like that. You know, there's a lot there that's wrong, but at least, thankfully, for that bag of spinach, you got back on the right track. But imagine if your wife hadn't gone to the shop at that particular moment and bumped into that lady, you know, it might have been very different. And
I've had an apology. I've had an apology from the specialist who said, he goes, this shouldn't have happened. He goes, we've changed the procedures and that won't happen going forward, which is fine. And I get that. You know, when you sit there and go, do I kick off about this because I shouldn't have been discharged for nothing. That shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You only sat there going, hang on, if I need his signature on anything to say I'm okay or whatever, then I've just wound him up because I've potentially took him to court. Such a dilemma. Do I do anything or just go, thanks, cheers, I'm on the mend, I'm doing all right. So it's been hard. You know, there's been a lot of internal fighting with myself about, should I have kicked off about this? I don't know. Some people say I should have done. Some people go, well, you're still alive. That's the main thing. You know what I mean?
Well, that's it. And, you know, by not kicking off, you've been able to focus on your recovery. If you had kicked off, that might have consumed it. It's a sort of damned if you don't scenario, isn't it? But I think at the very least, they could have sort of rung your wife and sort of said, this is what's happened to your husband. We're discharging him. Come and pick him up. I think, you know, that was a dangerous scenario, sending you out to find your own way home and everything. But, you know, it's in the past, but at least, you know, you got on the recovery bandwagon kind of thing and got help and everything. But don't assume that you didn't get told. You know, you were talking about the emotional liability, you crying at the news at 10 and everything. Not everywhere does tell you these things. That nothing was explained about anything.
No.
When I got discharged from hospital, you know, I got sent home with the bag of drugs and everything. And like I said to you earlier, no reason why I'd had the stroke. And that was it. It was sort of on your way kind of thing. You're still here, and that's it. And you know, again, through different strokes, I found out that feeling X was normal and Y might happen to you, and X has happened to you as well. But other stroke survivors are feeling the same thing, and it was really a godsend, to know that you weren't struggling on your own. And I found, even when I went back to see the consultant, who I found out wasn't a stroke consultant, he was just a general medical practitioner. I didn't get the answers I wanted. I had a few questions. I didn't get the answers I wanted. And it's your processing skills are slowed down as well. So, you can't, whereas, pre-stroke, if you went to an appointment, you'd say, right, what about such and such? They'd answer it. And then you go for, another tangent. Right, you said this. What does that mean? And what have you? You don't necessarily have the skill.
I mean, thankfully for me, my wife has been brilliant with regards to, right in the beginning, sitting at home, she was the one Googling everything regarding what do I do with it, what his recovery, what do I need to do? Found the physio down in Brighton. So Angela's been amazing at kind of looking at all the effects and what's caused it. Like I say, the doctor did say, he goes, take this as a shot across the bow, in respect that, I was a rugby player, I was clearly overweight, drank too much, the usual, ate too much, loved a bar of chocolate, the usual kind of stuff. He goes, take this as a shot across the bow, you're still here. And he goes, but you need to change your lifestyle. You need to change your life and how you are. And I was overweight, the usual stuff. And I think, when you look back at photographs of holiday photographs, and you sit there and go, who's that massive fella holding my daughter? And you sit there and go, bloody hell, it's me. You know what I mean? You sit there and you go, you don't realize how big you are and how sort of, life takes over and all the rest of it. So thanks to Angela, had it not been for her and part of this recovery, it changed my diet, it would change my life, obviously lifestyle and stuff. So, I've lost 3 stone, which is brilliant. I think the only downside of that is I'm going to have to start buying clothes that fit us. I looked at my suit. I got my suit out the wardrobe the other week. And I only bought it about 6 months ago, but this thing could probably wrap round me 3.
Oh, no.
And they're going, oh my God, I'm going to have to buy another suit. And it's like, Ange took us into the bedroom and kind of said, right, try all these clothes on, let's see what we need and get a rough idea. So that, kind of going through the early days, it was like, we need jogging bottoms, you need fleecy top. I mean, looking at this top now, it's massive, it's huge. I think it's a double XL if I remember right, but it's like, I'm back, I'm now fitting into a large rather than double XL. Yeah. You sit there and go, the weight loss is brilliant, but I'm going to have to buy a new wardrobe, which isn't a bad thing. But you sit there and go, right, brilliant.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it becomes expensive. Again, had it not been for Angela, I don't know how it'd have been. I'd have still probably been eating the rubbish that I was eating. But I'm having porridge in the morning and I'm having a good tea. So cooking the carbs, getting all of that out of my diet and all the rubbish has been brilliant. So it's been a good. I wouldn't advise having a stroke to lose weight by any means, but I've like I say, I've shed 3 stone, so I'm doing the right thing coming out the back end of it, again under the guidance of my wife, really, because she's very strict about you can't eat that, you're not eating that, which has been brilliant to have that. So hope, and I did say I can remember walking out the hospital thinking to myself, I can't come back here. This is they've said this is a shot across the bow. I've got to lose the weight. I've got to get myself fit, whatever that looks like. As I'm hobbling out a hospital thing, I've got to get fit. I'm never going to run again, that scenario. So yeah, it's been a tall order, this whole COVID stuff. And obviously, you hear people with it being pretty rough and you think I've done all right, to be fair, but it's not until you break it down, you're thinking, that sounds pretty crap that you've just had, but yeah, it's a funny one.
Well, that's it. Due to lockdown, there was bits that wasn't so good for you, and other bits, you've got round it, even being smuggled in the back door of the hospital.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a strange scenario, but so have you had family at home?
Yeah, we've got 2 girls, 18 and 13. So they've been brilliant, the pair of them. I think it's been a shock, obviously, you know, and it's been hard for me, obviously, being, you know, the father figure in the house. You know, you think you're invincible. I'm here to protect my girls and all the rest of it, and to then find that, you know, it's a low ebb when you're asking your 13-year-old to tie your shoelace. That's not a nice feeling. Do you know what I mean? Bless her, she's done it. Both of them have been brilliant, but it's just like there's some things that are just like hard to do. It's hard to think, to sit there and go, as a proud parent, I don't want to be having to ask a 13-year-old, can you tie my shoelace? Or I'll just double check something. You come downstairs and they're going, your t-shirt's on the wrong way around, Dad. Oh, brilliant.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that.
But again, you know, in the morning, you can pretty much guarantee I can spend, at least I've got to go back up the stairs again, take the top off, put a new one on and stuff like that. But just think, so they've had a big learning curve. And I think for two young girls, again, I feel sorry for them because they both had lockdown. I mean, and then me to deal with, because obviously I was stuck in the same house as they, kind of bumbling around doing what I was doing, leaving the tap running, and not just, you know, the fridge door.
Yeah.
We'll get something, open the fridge door and walk away because I was off to do something else. And either thankfully or annoyingly, the fridge has got an alarm.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, Dad, you've left the fridge door open. Oh, Jesus, shut the fridge door. So there's been loads of things that I know has massively frustrated them. Again, you know, this whole lockdown fever, we've been shut in.
Yeah.
You know, we got a young pup. I got him in December last year. So it's been good in that respect, in that he's had us 100% of the time. But, you know, kind of just the daft little things sort of, you know, that you just take for granted, you know.
That's it.
Being harsh.
So with your girls being older, you or your wife didn't have to homeschool them then. Hopefully they got on with their work themselves.
Yeah, they did to a degree. But I think, you know, sort of, you know, the youngest one, she's obviously, you know, coming into teenage years, getting her out of bed in the morning, isn't going to happen. But again, she adjusted. I think her body clock adjusted to the time. It's like, I don't have to be up for 7 o'clock. Yeah. And she did get her work done, but it was like, we were there going, you need to be up at 9 o'clock. Why? Because I can do it at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock and still get it all done. Do you know what I mean? The teachers aren't there watching what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for them. I do genuinely feel sorry for them because that, you know, all of their lives just came to a standstill. That was them done. Not just me, but
yeah,
COVID. It was like, you can't do this. You can't go anywhere.
That's it. Took them away from their friends, the social side of things, as well as their schoolwork. But thank goodness for FaceTime and all these programs they've got now that they can use. Because if this had happened when we were youngsters, it would have been awful. We don't have the one phone in the house with a cord on it, and that's it.
You knew where your mates were because there was a pile of bikes outside the other mate's house.
Yeah.
I think the hard part, again, with that Zoom stuff and what as we're on now, it's like, you know, the kids are doing their own stuff. Whatever. There's been times we've taken clothes upstairs to the little one's room, and you'll be standing in the bedroom. Thank God, got clothes on, not naked. And all of a sudden, you'll hear one of the other mums talking, and you're going, Brian was his name, not a dad, not a mum. I went, Brian, are you there? Yes, Barry, how are you doing? He's obviously been in the Zoom chat from an hour before, still there. And I'm there going, yeah, why are you there? He goes, just me and Grace were talking, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Down right, I'm going to kill that off. Thank God I didn't walk in with no clothes on, just in the buff. But hobbling in the buff would have been a horrible sight. But yeah, so it's, again, changing it, you know, kind of how you do stuff's been bizarre.
Well, that's it. But then
the other weird thing was, you know, I can't remember what it was for. I remember everybody went out and waved for the NHS.
Oh yes, on the Thursdays.
On the Thursdays, yeah. I think my dog Doug thought that was for him. Every Thursday night, everyone's out on the street and the dog's okay. Everyone's waving at the dog. He was amazing, bless him. Take the dog out into the front garden so you can see all the neighbours all waving at
Yeah, my two just sat in the house and barked at it. Why is everyone out there making a noise?
Yeah. So,
yeah, gosh, that seems so long ago now. I've forgotten about happening for the NHS.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Again, through what I'd gone through, it felt like a bit of pill as well. You know, you're there going,
Yeah.
Kind of, why would I want to clap to the NHS when I've had such an ordeal? But again, on the other side of that, I did get to see Trevor, you know, my physio and all the rest of it. It has worked, and you know, kind of been there, but a bit late. But yeah.
And on top of your stroke and the girls being home from school, your wife's operation, you've had it all going on as well.
Yeah. I mean, she's done brilliantly well, to be fair to her. I mean, I think, you know, they went in, again, through COVID. When you think of COVID, it was like, normally, you know, a hip replacement, you'd have been in for a few days and, you know, you're doing all your rehab and stuff on the ward and what have you. It was like, right, you're coming in on, let's say, I think it was a Thursday morning. I got a phone call from a Thursday afternoon. She goes, I'm having my breakfast. She goes, I'm sat in the ward and they want me to come out tomorrow. And I was like, you've been in a night? Yeah, because obviously they want people out the hospital and stuff. So she went in, had a hip done, and then out the door again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a bit of an ordeal. This 2020 can just do one as far as I'm concerned. I've had enough. You know, when you sit there and go, nothing else can happen in 2020, but then you look forward and go, hang on, we've got another few months ahead of us. Anything can happen between now and 2020.
Never say never. We were sitting here one Tuesday morning. It was just before our weekly staff meeting. And I was upstairs and I was sat at my bed putting some socks on. And I thought, what was that? There was a horrendous noise. It sounded like a big gust of wind had got under my roof and the roof was about to come off, with everything in the loft was about to fall down. We had an earthquake here in Milton Keynes.
Maybe.
And you know, when you just sit there and think, what is this all about, the 2020? But the thing was, not everybody had experienced it staff-wise. So some of us had gone on there saying, did you feel that earthquake? And the others are sort of, no, what earthquake? Is Sheelagh having a moment? It was the bizarrest thing. You couldn't make this year up if you tried, you know, and it's, yeah, I think we'll all be saying good riddance on the 31st of December. But
again, if you go back to the 31st last year, I seem to remember being at a party going, 2020 is going to be a brilliant year for me. Yeah, then go, this is going to be amazing, but then, you know.
Yeah. So, it's just, it's
completely changed.
In a different direction. Well, for the whole world, you know, it's global, isn't it? It's just, it's phenomenal. I think sometimes you sit there and imagine, you know, am I dreaming this, or has this really happened? Because it seems unreal. I think the biggest thing for me is schools being closed. That never happens. You know, okay, maybe for the occasional snow day or what have you.
Golden days in the snow.
Yeah.
Boilers packed in. Yay, we're going to
Now, you see, being brought up in Inverness, we didn't close very often for snow. We had horrendous snow up there, but I can remember the school bus going through a snow tunnel to get to school. And, you know, if the transport wasn't running, we were expected to walk to school in the snow. That didn't stop us. But down here, a little bit of frost and all the school
shuts down.
But never mind.
Yeah. They're putting coats on, you're putting a jumper on.
Yeah.
What's the matter with you?
I get a lot colder down south because it's a damp cold, not a fresh, crisp cold like up north and everything. So I love it when it snows, because that's just my type of weather kind of thing. And
I think the thing with me with this stroke is I'm finding I'm getting cold really quickly.
Yeah.
It's one of, you know, I've bought these new gloves. I just bought them for my birthday the other week. I've you know, always been a big bloke. I was always red hot. My body temperature was always too hot all the time. But all of a sudden now, I feel the cold really quickly.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I'm the same. I was always, you know, I always felt the cold, but now even more so. And it's my legs I feel it in most. You know, and my body's warm and I've got enough clothes on and everything, and the heating's on in the house. But for some reason, my legs feel cold and I've got to put a blanket on them. And
Yeah, I
everyone's
suppose
gone,
now that I've lost the weight, the jumpers can go layered on, but like 5 jumpers big, sort of, layers up.
yeah.
Get the massive ones on the outside, and over that, yeah,
Oh, well, you'll be all right for the winter then.
yeah. So just daft little things like that, really. So yes,
So what's next for you? You mentioned your driving assessment. You've got that in a few weeks.
yeah.
Going
So
back to work?
again, sorry.
Going back to work?
So I've spoken to work. Obviously, I've been keeping in touch with them. I think the big thing that I miss with those guys is that I'm part of a team. I've got a load of consultants who work with me. We go out and see customers and stuff. And I miss the sort of the camaraderie of the team that that I've built and stuff. That's the hard thing. But I think, the work have been brilliant. They've said, take the time, get yourself put right. But is it boredom? Is it boredom? You kind of sat there going, I want to be doing something. I want to be part of doing all of that. But I know I've got to take it step by step, because obviously the fatigue, that can kick in.
Yeah.
I almost created a phobia of opening up this laptop, because when I had the stroke and I was doing the Control-C, Control-V stuff, it was like, shut that. I'm never going to open that laptop again. I'm not going to do that. And again, I created a phobia about starting it. But then it was my father-in-law sat us down the other week and kind of said, he goes, Barry, it's fine you sat there kind of doing stuff with your hands and sort of, kind of doing stuff around the house. He goes, that's pretty good, but that's not what you do. He said, you need to get back into that computer and you need to be doing stuff again. And it was one of them that I thought, right, let's give it a go. Kind of a bit nervous, he kind of fired it all up. I couldn't remember my password. And it's been a year since I've been back into this. And again, my background as a designer, that's what I've done from uni and stuff. And I went into the software to try and do some 3D modeling. I couldn't do it at all. I think the spatial awareness of the dimensions, I just couldn't get my head around it at all. And I had a bit of a breakdown in there. I've lost a massive, I didn't realize that big part of me had gone. And I kind of sat there, and maybe it was a day or two later, kind of after having broken down in tears and all the rest of it, I go, hang on, that's not what I do now. I'm not a designer. I look after a team of consultants, and we go out and fix stuff with customers now. So I sat with that, and it was Angela who said, she goes, you're right, you're not a designer. It's not what you do. Open up your laptop and go back in and do what you would normally do. So I went in, I kind of went through a PowerPoint presentation with her that I'd built, and I presented it to her, and she's going, you haven't lost a jot. Everything, all there, everything's there. You just need to get that confidence again. So I spoke to work, and I had a chat with them, because obviously one of the things is they're going to do a phased approach back in with us. It's like, when, I don't know. But again, they've given me a year off, which has been brilliant to get to recover. Again, is the boredom, is it my fizzy pop analogy, the boredom wanting me back into this, or do I take the time? Now, I had a chat with my boss, and I said, look, I want to get back in. I want to do an old project that I've done and redo a presentation and go through all of that again. And he said, Barry goes, I'm nervous about you doing that. He said, because you are classed as being off sick at the moment. I went, get that. I said, however, as part of my rehab, I've got to start doing something so I know what I'm doing. And again, more so in the, if I would go into a company to see how well they're performing or whatever, and I'm interviewing somebody, I think it's one of the things is to analyze how they are. I need to see the white of your eye. If you're lying to me, I can tell from the white of your eye. And I'm asking a company to tell me what's wrong with this business. And if they're going to open up and tell me what their opinion is, I need to fully trust them and see where they are. So I was doubtful whether or not you could do it with Zoom. And I thought, I've done a few Zoom sessions now, and I thought, I'm going to have to adapt everything I know and what I do to be able to do this online, because it's a different world. So it's one of them that, I said, Ken, I need to sit down and rebuild all the material that I've got to be able to offer it online, because companies don't want us to come through the door now. It's not a case of, it's not that I can't, they won't let us in. So I need to find another medium of doing what I'm doing. So I'm having to again, it's been good for me to sit here at the computer and start rethinking again how do I reconfigure all this material to then be able to do it as a web-based consultancy type stuff. So yeah, there's a few changes kind of coming in line, but I think for me, so towards the end of the year, early part of next year, I'm definitely going to be looking at doing that phased approach, whether it's a day, a week, or I don't know. We're going to talk with HR. So it is coming online slowly.
Yeah.
But again, work they've been brilliant with me. Just said, you know, we want you back 100%. Don't come back at 80% and then you can't do it. You know what I mean? So they've been brilliant in that respect. I think the pressure is just me, but I've obviously trying to teach myself to slow down again. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we all sort of want to get our lives back on track and everything. And the hardest thing to accept, and maybe everybody should accept it after the way this year's gone, is just take the time, you know, and, you know, you'll get there. But, you know, I can understand what you mean by saying you sort of get bored and you want to get back into things and what have you. It's hard trying to find that happy medium because, you know, you have to, but it'll come in time. And, you know, even if you're just sitting looking at your presentations that you've had and what have you, even if you're just going through the thought processes in your head of everything changing and what have you, and that's not just because of you, it's the way life is now. You know, it's
I'll get there. I'll get there. It's one of them things that I know I'll get there. Just it's that wiggly path.
Yeah.
I'm going to find that graphic again on your website. I think it was on the Facebook thing. It had A to B on that straight line and the wiggly. I've got to find that and put that somewhere and remember that one.
Yeah, so, you need to repost it then.
Yeah. I'll just troll your website, see if I can find it. Yeah.
So you got your driving assessment coming up, so hopefully that'll all go okay.
Yeah.
And you know, slowly but surely you'll get back on track, and you know the girls are back at school.
Yeah.
For the time being, shall we say, and everything, and you know, you've got your puppy to take you out and get some fresh air and everything.
He's not so much a puppy. Yeah, he's still titled a puppy. He's about 50 kilos. He's massive.
Oh my goodness, what breed is he?
Retriever.
Oh my goodness.
Big idiot. So yeah. So again, he's been part of my recovery. Kind of get him out for walks and stuff. That's been good having him there.
Yeah.
But,
and I think, you know, having dogs when we were in lockdown as well, though, you know, it might not have been as easy at first, is just they get you out, don't they? You know, that's all we could do at first was you know, that was our out, shopping and walking the dog. But you know, thank goodness we had that. But it's amazing how many people seem to have dogs all of a sudden. You think, why don't we see you all the time? Do you never walk your dog on normally? But never mind.
He keeps his own toes.
Well, hopefully things will keep going from strength to strength for you, and let us know how you get on your driving assessment.
Will do. There'll be yourself. There'll be Andy Wilson and Fiona Goldsmith. Are the first people I'm going to tell who's on the site. Wherever you say, I've done it. I've got me driving. The DVLA. There's the letter. Off you go. I'm back in the car again.
Brilliant.
So yeah, you'll be the first of a few to know.
Oh, that's fantastic. And any tips you've got from it, you know, post them in there on the Facebook page and everything. You know, Andy's just been through his and got through successfully and everything. So hopefully you'll be the next one and everything. But you know, I know there's a few people, you know, are building up to this, so the tips will be handy and everything. So so good luck with that. Well, thank you very much for talking to me today.
Yeah, it was good to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks then, Barry.
Cheers. Bye. Take care.